The flower hit Roman Valenti in the chest like a white explosion. For one impossible second, nobody moved. Not the old man sitting near the window with his coffee halfway to his mouth. Not the young mother holding a box of cinnamon rolls. Not the two men in black suits standing by the glass door with their hands already sliding beneath their jackets. And definitely not Clara Evans. Her fingers were still curved from the handful she had just thrown. White powder drifted through the warm bakery air, glowing in the morning sunlight that spilled through the front windows. It clung to the front of the stranger's black coat, dusted his dark shirt, settled over the sharp line of his shoulders like fresh snow. Clara's heart dropped so hard she almost couldn't breathe. The bakery, usually alive with the hum of ovens and the soft clatter of trays, became silent enough for her to hear the old pipes ticking inside the walls. Then one of the men by the door took a step forward. Clara saw the movement, saw the cold precision in his eyes, saw the way the other customers instinctively shrank back, as if their bodies understood danger before their minds did. But the man covered in flour raised one hand. Just one. The bodyguard stopped. Clara should have apologized. She should have stepped back, lowered her voice, begged forgiveness from whoever this man was. He was clearly not some ordinary businessman. Ordinary businessmen did not make rooms freeze. Ordinary businessmen did not walk into a small neighborhood bakery with 3 silent men behind them and make the entire morning feel like a funeral. But Clara was tired. Tired of unpaid invoices folded under the cash register, tired of the landlord's notices taped to her apartment door above the shop, tired of city inspectors showing up twice in 1 week because someone with money wanted her gone, tired of men in beautiful coats talking about redevelopment opportunities as if her mother's recipes, her father's old bread oven, and the only home her niece had left were nothing but dust to be swept off the street. So when the stranger had stepped too close and said calmly, "Every property on this block will change hands by the end of the month," something inside Clara snapped. And now Boston's winter sunlight was shining on the most dangerous mistake of her life. The man looked down at his flour-covered chest. Then he looked at her. His face was too controlled to be handsome in any normal way. Dark hair brushed back. Strong jaw, a faint scar near his right eyebrow. Eyes so gray they looked almost silver in the light. He was not young enough to be reckless and not old enough to be gentle. Maybe late 30s, maybe 40. The kind of man who had learned early that fear opened more doors than charm. Clara swallowed. "I told you not to come behind my counter," she said, though her voice was not nearly as strong as she wanted it to be. The silence deepened. One of the bodyguards whispered, "Boss, boss." The word moved through the room like a blade. Clara's stomach tightened. The man's eyes stayed on hers. And then, without warning, Roman Valenti laughed. Not loudly, not warmly, just one low, startled sound, as if his body had remembered something his soul had forgotten. It was gone almost as soon as it appeared, but everyone in the bakery heard it. His bodyguards looked more shaken by that laugh than by the flour. Roman brushed 2 fingers across the white mark on his coat. He studied the powder on his fingertips. Then he turned his attention back to Clara. "What is this?" he asked. Clara blinked. "Flour." "I know what flour is." "Then, why did you ask?" His mouth twitched, almost like he was considering another laugh and deciding against it. "What kind?" Despite herself, despite the fear buzzing beneath her skin, Clara answered, "King Arthur. Unbleached. I use it for sourdough." Roman nodded once, as if she had given him intelligence on a rival family, instead of baking ingredients. Then he leaned slightly closer. The bodyguards shifted again, but he did not take his eyes off her. "You throw expensive flour at all? Your customers? You rear? Not a customer? No? Customers buy things. You came in here to threaten me. I came in here to make an offer. You came in here with men who look like they bury people for exercise." A sound escaped from the old man by the window. Not quite a cough, not quite a prayer. Roman's gaze sharpened, but his voice remained calm. "You should be more careful with your mouth, Clara Evans." The fact that he knew her name sent a cold line down her spine. She tried not to show it. "And you should be more careful where you stand." The room held its breath again. Roman looked at her for a long moment. Then he reached into his coat. Clara stiffened. So did everyone else. But he only pulled out a folded white handkerchief. He wiped a streak of flour from his lapel with slow, deliberate care. Then he placed the handkerchief on the counter between them. "I'll take 1 sourdough loaf," he said, "and 1 of whatever smells like cinnamon." Clara stared at him. "You're joking." "I don't joke. You just laughed." That was different. Her pulse was still racing. Her palms were damp. Her knees felt unsteady beneath her apron. But pride held her upright. "The sourdough isn't ready until 10. It's 8, 12. Then come back at 10. One of the bodyguards looked at Roman, clearly expecting him to end this. Roman only looked at Clara. "At 10, then." He turned and walked toward the door. The men in black followed him instantly, leaving the bakery colder behind them. At the threshold, Roman paused. Morning light caught the flour still smeared across his coat. He glanced back at her over his shoulder. And Clara. She hated the way her body reacted to his voice. "Yes? Next time you want to throw something at me, use sugar." His eyes lowered briefly to the counter, then returned to her face. "It suits you better." Then he walked out. The door shut behind him. For several seconds, no one spoke. Then the young mother whispered, "Clara, do you know who that was?" Clara looked at the white handkerchief on the counter. On one corner, stitched in black thread, were the initials RV. Her mouth went dry. No, she lied. But she had heard the name before. Everyone in Boston had. Roman Valenti. The man who owned half the nightclubs on the waterfront. The man whose family name made politicians answer private calls. The man people accused of murder, only in rooms with no windows. The man her late father once warned her about when she was 16, and believed good people always won if they worked hard enough. Never get noticed by a Valenti, Clara. That was what her father had said. Never owe them, never insult them, never catch their attention. Clara looked through the bakery window. Across the street, a black SUV waited by the curb like a shadow with wheels. Roman stood beside it, flour still on his chest, speaking to one of his men. But halfway through whatever sentence he was giving, his eyes lifted. Straight to her. Clara's breath caught. He could have had her dragged out, could have shut the bakery down before lunch, could have made one phone call and turned her entire life into ash. Instead, he smiled faintly. Then he got into the SUV and disappeared into Boston traffic. Clara told herself that was the end of it. She was wrong. At exactly 10 o'clock, Roman Valenti returned. This time, he came alone. No bodyguards in the doorway. No men reaching into jackets. No silent parade of danger behind him. Just Roman, dressed in a different black coat, entering as the bell above the door chimed too sweetly for the tension he brought with him. Clara was sliding fresh sourdough loaves onto the cooling rack when she saw him. The bakery had filled with the smell of butter, yeast, vanilla, and cinnamon. Outside, snow had begun falling in soft flurries over Hanover Street, coating the parked cars and brick sidewalks. Inside, everything was golden and warm. Roman did not belong there. He looked like a loaded gun placed on a lace tablecloth. Clara wiped her hands on her apron. "You're back. You told me to come at 10. Most men like you don't listen. Most women don't throw flour at me. I'm sure they want to." His eyes held hers. "I'm sure they don't dare." That should have frightened her more than it did. It did frighten her, but beneath the fear was something else. something she refused to name. It was not attraction. Attraction was soft. This felt like standing too close to a fire and realizing warmth and danger came from the same place. Clara turned toward the rack. 1 sourdough loaf. And the cinnamon? Morning buns. I'll take 6. You eating for your entire security team? No. She placed the loaf and 6 morning buns into a white box. Her hands moved faster than usual. She hated that he made her feel watched. Not in the ordinary way men watched her body when they thought she would not notice, but as if he were reading every small movement and storing it somewhere private. That'll be $23, she said. Roman placed a $100 bill on the counter. I don't have change for that. Keep it. No. His brow lifted. She pushed the bill back toward him. $23. Clara. Don't Clara me. Like you own the sound of my name. $23. A muscle moved in his jaw. For a moment, she saw it, the man beneath the control. The temper, the habit of being obeyed, the cold instinct to punish anyone who challenged him. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out exact cash. Clara took it. Their fingers almost touched. Almost. Roman noticed. So did she. He lifted the bakery box. You know, he said quietly, I could still buy this building. I know. I could double whatever it's worth. It's not worth much to anyone but me. That is usually where people make their worst financial decisions, and where they make their best human ones. His expression changed so subtly she might have missed it if she had not been looking directly at him. Something flickered behind his eyes. Pain, maybe, or memory. Then it vanished. He turned to leave. Roman. He stopped. She regretted saying his name as soon as it left her mouth. He looked back. Clara forced herself to continue. Why this street? His face closed. The city changes. That's not an answer. It's the only one you get. Today. Today. The word stayed with her long after he left, because it sounded like a promise. The next morning, he returned at 8:05. Then again at 8:05, the day after that. Then every morning for 2 weeks. Always alone at the door. Always black coat, calm eyes, controlled silence. Always exact cash after the second day, as if he had learned the rule and would not insult her by breaking it again. At first, Clara treated him like a threat with good manners. She kept the counter between them. She never turned her back too long. She answered his questions with short, careful replies. But Roman Valenti had patience in the way dangerous men did. He did not rush, did not flirt like a normal man, did not charm the older women who started whispering when he entered, did not pretend he was harmless. He simply came, every morning. Sometimes he ordered sourdough, sometimes coffee, sometimes a single almond croissant he never ate in the bakery but carried out in a white bag. One snowy Thursday, Clara noticed he always bought 2 hot chocolates. You don't drink those, she said. Roman looked at the cups. No. For who? My driver. Your driver likes extra whipped cream. No. She stared at him. He held her gaze. Then, quietly, he said, There is a man who sleeps outside St. Bridget's red scarf, missing 2 fingers on his left hand. He likes it sweet. Clara did not know what to do with that. It irritated her more than cruelty would have. Cruel men were easy to hate. Men who did one kind thing in the middle of a life built on violence were far more dangerous. You expect that to impress me? She asked. No. Good. I don't need you impressed. What do you need? The question slipped out before she could stop it. Roman's eyes lowered to her mouth for half a heartbeat, then returned to her eyes. That, he said softly, is becoming a problem. The air between them tightened. Before Clara could answer, a small voice called from the back stairs. Aunt Clara. My backpack zipper broke again. Clara froze. Roman did too, but for a different reason. A little girl appeared in the doorway behind the counter, wearing a purple winter coat and carrying a backpack almost too big for her small shoulders. Her dark curls were tied into uneven pigtails, and one mitten dangled from her sleeve. Lily, 7 years old. Clara's niece. The last living piece of her sister Maren, who had died 2 years earlier in a car accident that still sometimes woke Clara in the middle of the night with the sound of rain and broken glass. Clara had kept Lily away from the front whenever Roman visited, not because she was ashamed, because men like Roman Valenti turned every person you loved into leverage. Lily stopped when she saw him. Roman's expression changed, but only slightly. His posture remained still. His eyes moved from Lily to Clara and back again. Clara stepped in front of Lily without thinking. Roman noticed that too. "She's my niece," Clara said, her voice sharper than necessary. "I didn't ask." "You were going to." "No." His gaze softened by 1 degree, but his voice remained controlled. "I was going to say her backpack is open." Lily looked down and gasped as 2 crayons fell onto the floor. Roman bent before Clara could move. The sight of him crouching in his immaculate black coat, picking up a blue crayon from the bakery floor, was so strange that Clara could not speak. He held it out to Lily. She looked at Clara first. Clara hated that Roman waited for permission. Hated it because it was respectful. Hated it because it made him harder to keep in the simple box labeled monster. "It's okay," Clara said. Lily took the crayon. "Thank you." Roman gave a slight nod. "You're a welcome." Lily tilted her head. "Why do you always wear black?" Clara nearly choked. Roman considered the question seriously. "It saves time. My aunt wears flour." Roman looked at Clara. For the second time since she had met him, amusement touched his face. "Yes," he said. "She does." Lily giggled. Clara quickly zipped the backpack. "Bus, stop. Now. Mrs. O'Leary is waiting." Lily hugged Clara around the waist, waved at Roman, then disappeared through the side door. The bell jangled. Silence returned. Not the same silence as before. This one was intimate in a way Clara did not like. Roman placed the coffee money on the counter. "You're raising her." Clara lifted her chin. "That is none of your business." "No, it isn't." "Then don't make it yours." His eyes held hers with quiet intensity. "I don't hurt children, Clara. You hurt people." "Yes." The honesty landed harder than any lie could have. He stepped closer to the counter, but not behind it. He had never crossed that boundary again. "There are things in my life you should be afraid of," he said, "but not that. You say that like I should believe you." "No." His voice lowered. "I say it because I want you to remember it when the fear starts coming from somewhere else." Clara went cold. "What does that mean?" Roman looked toward the bakery window. Across the street, a man in a navy overcoat stood pretending to read his phone. Clara had seen him before, once outside the pharmacy, once near Lily's school, once beside the alley behind the bakery. Her throat tightened. Roman's face had become unreadable. "Close early tonight," he said. "Why?" "Because I asked." "That's not enough." He looked back at her. "No," he said. "It's not, but it should be." Then he left without his coffee. That night, Clara did not close early. Pride was one reason, fear was another. If she let Roman Valenti tell her when to lock her doors, then the bakery was already lost. So at 8:43 p.m., she was alone in the kitchen, kneading dough beneath the yellow overhead lights, while Lily slept upstairs in the small apartment above the shop. Snow tapped softly against the windows. The street outside had gone quiet. Clara had almost convinced herself she was being paranoid when the back door opened. Not loudly, Not with a crash, just a soft click. She turned. A man stepped inside wearing a delivery uniform she did not recognize. For 1 second, her brain tried to make sense of him. Then she saw the knife. Clara grabbed the first thing her hand touched, a metal rolling pin, and swung. The man cursed as it cracked against his forearm. He lunged. Clara stumbled backward, knocking over a tray of rising dough. He caught her apron and yanked hard enough to tear the strap around her neck. She screamed, not for herself, for Lily. The man slapped a gloved hand over her mouth. "Where is it?" he hissed. Clara bit him. He jerked back. The kitchen door burst open so violently it hit the wall. Roman came in like a storm. Not alone this time. 2 men followed, but Roman reached the attacker first. He did not shout, did not threaten. He simply moved with terrifying efficiency, catching the man's wrist, twisting until the knife clattered to the floor, then driving him back against the steel table. Clara saw the cold truth of him then. The violence was not chaotic. It was practiced, controlled, personal only because she was in the room. The attacker choked as Roman pressed his forearm against his throat. "Who sent you?" Roman asked. The man spat blood onto the tile. Roman's face did not change. Wrong answer. Clara looked away before she could see more. A second later, Lily screamed from upstairs. Clara ran. Roman released the attacker into his men's hands and followed her. Lily stood on the stairs in her pajamas, clutching her stuffed rabbit, eyes huge with terror. Clara pulled her into her arms. "It's okay. It's okay, baby. I'm here." But Lily was staring past her, at Roman, at the blood on his knuckles, at the darkness he had brought into their warm little world. Clara turned on him with tears burning behind her eyes. "You knew," she whispered. "You knew someone was coming." Roman's jaw tightened. "I suspected. And you didn't tell me. I told you to close." "That's not telling me." Lily trembled against her. Roman's eyes moved to the child. Something hard in his expression cracked, then sealed again. "You need to leave this building tonight. No, Clara, no. You do not get to walk into my life, bring your enemies to my door, and then decide where I sleep." His voice remained quiet, but the room seemed to bend around it. "My enemies were at your door before I ever walked into your bakery." She went still. "What?" Roman looked down the stairs, toward the kitchen where his men were dragging the attacker away. "This street is being taken for a reason. Not by me first, by someone using city permits and shell companies to hide a criminal route running beneath these buildings." Clara stared at him. "You're lying." "I lie when it helps me. This does not. My bakery has nothing to do with criminals. It does now." "No." Her voice broke. "This was my parents' shop. I know." The words were too gentle. Clara hated them. Roman stepped 1 stair closer. Clara stepped back, holding Lily tighter. He stopped immediately. "You have 2 choices," he said. "Stay here and wait for the next man to come through a window, or let me put you somewhere no one touches you." "No one except you." His eyes darkened. "I have had many chances to touch you, Clara." His voice lowered. "You are still untouched." The words moved through her body like heat and warning. She hated that part of her noticed. Hated that even now, afraid and furious, she understood exactly what he meant. Roman looked away first. "Pack for 3 days." "I didn't agree." "No." He glanced toward the sleeping street beyond the frosted window. "But you will when you hear the sirens." Clara's blood went cold. What sirens? As if summoned by his voice, red and blue lights flashed against the bakery windows. Police cars stopped outside. Roman's men moved instantly. Clara stared through the glass as officers surrounded the front door. Roman's face hardened. "The man who attacked you called in a hostage report before he entered," he said. If the police find him here with my men, the story becomes whatever Elias Voss wants it to become. Who is Elias Voss? The man trying to steal your street. A fist pounded on the front door. Boston police, open up! Lily began crying. Clara closed her eyes for one desperate second. Then she whispered, "What do we do?" Roman looked at her with a terrifying steadiness. "Now," he said, "you trust the monster in your kitchen." 10 minutes later, Clara Evans left her bakery through a basement passage she had never known existed. Roman led the way with a flashlight, his black coat brushing damp brick walls as they moved through a narrow tunnel beneath the building. Clara carried Lily, who clung to her neck in frightened silence. The air smelled of salt, mold, and old secrets. Behind them, muffled voices echoed from above. Police, or men pretending to be police. Clara no longer knew the difference. The tunnel opened into a private garage beneath a building 2 blocks away. A black SUV waited with its engine running. Roman helped Lily into the back seat first. When Clara climbed in after her, Roman closed the door and stood outside for a moment, speaking quietly to one of his men. Clara watched him through the tinted glass. He looked nothing like the man who had laughed with flour on his chest. He looked like a king preparing for war. The SUV pulled into the snowy night. Boston moved past them in glittering fragments, wet brick, frozen harbor lights, restaurant windows glowing amber, people laughing under umbrellas, unaware that Clara's life had split open beneath the city. Lily fell asleep against her side. Clara kept one arm around her and looked at Roman sitting across from them. "Was my father involved?" she asked. Roman's eyes lifted. "No, don't lie. I'm not." "Then, why is there a tunnel under my bakery?" "Because Boston was built by men who needed to move things unseen. Liquor, money, weapons, people." His gaze sharpened. "Your father sealed your access years ago. That is probably why you are alive." Clara's throat tightened. "My father never told me. He was protecting you. From people like you?" Roman's expression did not change. "Yes." The honesty wounded her again. She looked away. The SUV climbed a private road along the water, past iron gates and bare winter trees, until a mansion appeared on a cliff above the dark Atlantic. It was made of stone and glass, beautiful in a lonely, intimidating way. Floodlights cut through the snow. Men with earpieces stood near the entrance. A safe house, Roman called it. But nothing about it felt safe. Inside, the mansion smelled of cedar, smoke, and expensive silence. A fire burned in a marble fireplace. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the black ocean beating itself against rocks below. A woman in her 50s named Sophia appeared with blankets, warm milk for Lily, and a face that softened the moment she saw the child. Roman spoke to her in Italian. Sophia nodded and led Lily to a guest room down the hall. Clara started to follow, but Roman's voice stopped her. "She'll be safe with Sophia." Clara turned. "I decide who she's safe with." Roman nodded once. "Then decide after you meet her." That made her pause. Again, he did not demand. He allowed. It was worse than dominance. It was discipline. Clara followed Lily anyway, checked the room, checked the windows, checked the adjoining bath, checked the closet. Roman remained outside the doorway, visible but not entering. Lily was half asleep by the time Clara tucked her under a thick white comforter. "Is the scary man bad?" Lily whispered. Clara sat beside her. She wanted to say yes. It would have been easier. Instead, she brushed curls from Lily's forehead. "I don't know yet." Lily's eyes fluttered. "He picked up my crayon." Clara's heart hurt. "Yes," she whispered. "He did." When Lily fell asleep, Clara stepped into the hall. Roman was waiting near the window, hands clasped in front of him. "You can take my room," he said. "No. It has the most secure windows." I said no. "Then I'll put 2 men outside your door." "You'll do no such thing." His eyes narrowed. "You are very stubborn for someone people keep trying to kill, and you are very bossy for someone covered in flour 12 hours ago." For a moment, the memory passed between them. His mouth did not smile, but his eyes changed. Then Clara remembered the attacker, the sirens, the tunnel, and the fragile moment collapsed. She stepped closer, lowering her voice so Lily would not hear. "What do you really want from me?" Roman looked at her. "Tonight? I want you alive. And tomorrow." His silence lasted too long. "Tomorrow," he said, "gets complicated." It did. By morning, Clara Evans was on every local news station. Not her face at first, but her bakery. "Break-in at North End Bakery, linked to organized crime investigation." Then came the second headline. "Local business owner seen leaving with Roman Valenti." By noon, paparazzi were outside the bakery. By 1, city officials were making statements about public safety. By 3, Elias Voss appeared on television in a navy suit with sympathetic eyes, announcing that his redevelopment company had offered to help struggling residents relocate from increasingly dangerous properties. Clara watched from Roman's living room, fury burning through her fear. "He caused this," she said. Roman stood behind the sofa, arms crossed. "Yes. He's making it look like my bakery is unsafe, so I'll sell." "Yes. And you knew him before this?" Roman did not answer quickly enough. Clara turned. His face was expressionless. "Roman. He used to work with my family." The words were careful. "That is not an answer." "No," he said. "It's the beginning of one." Before he could continue, a news anchor's voice sharpened. "Sources close to City Hall suggest Evans' bakery may have been used as a front for criminal activity." Clara grabbed the remote and shut it off. Her hand shook. "My parents built that bakery from nothing," she whispered. "My mother woke up at 4 every morning for 29 years. My father fixed that oven with his own hands when we couldn't afford a repairman. And now strangers think we were criminals because men like you play wars under our feet." Roman's jaw clenched. "I did not create this war. No, you just profit from it." His eyes went colder. For the first time since the flower, Clara saw him withdraw from her. It should have felt like victory. It felt like losing heat in the middle of winter. "You're right," he said quietly. The admission stunned her. Roman walked toward the window. Outside, the ocean crashed against black rocks. "I was raised to inherit violence and call it duty. My father believed fear kept order. My uncle believed blood kept loyalty. I believed both until I was old enough to understand that men use tradition to excuse greed, then leave it." He looked back. "You think no one has tried?" The room darkened around his voice. "Power does not let you resign, Clara. It waits until you love something, then uses that thing to drag you back." Their eyes locked. She understood too much in that moment. Because poverty did the same thing. Grief did the same thing. Family did the same thing. They were born into different prisons, but both knew the shape of bars. The silence between them became dangerous again. Not violent, intimate. Roman stepped toward her, slowly. Clara did not move. He stopped close enough that she could smell smoke and winter air on his coat. "You should hate me," he said. "I'm working on it." His eyes lowered, then lifted. "Work harder." Her breath caught. For one suspended second, she thought he might touch her face. His hand rose halfway, then stopped. He closed his fingers into a fist and lowered it. "Get some rest," he said. Then he walked out, leaving Clara alone with a heartbeat she no longer trusted. Over the next week, Clara learned what forced proximity to Roman Valenti truly meant. It meant waking to find his men stationed at every entrance. It meant breakfast prepared by Sophia, who treated Lily with grandmotherly tenderness and refused to answer questions about how many bullets the kitchen windows could withstand. It meant Roman disappearing for hours into a locked office, then emerging colder than before. It meant Clara's phone filling with messages from reporters, former customers, old acquaintances, and one person she had not expected. Ethan Pierce, her ex-fiancé. The man who had left 6 months after Maren died because grief, debt, and raising a child had made Clara too heavy to love, though he had dressed the cruelty in softer words. His message arrived at 11:18 p.m. Clara, I saw the news. Please call me. Voss is dangerous. I can help. She stared at the screen until Roman's voice spoke from the doorway. Don't answer him. Clara jumped. Do you always appear like a ghost? When necessary. That was private. No, it was bait. She stood from the window seat. You read my messages. I monitor threats. You mean you monitor me? Roman's silence confirmed it. A cold, familiar humiliation washed through her. Of course, the kindness, the restraint, the morning visits, the exact change. The way he remembered Lily's backpack and bought hot chocolate for a homeless man. She had been foolish to let any of it feel real. You put surveillance on me. After the first threat, without asking. Yes? Cameras? Exterior only. Phone. His jaw tightened. Roman. Yes. The word landed like betrayal. Clara slapped him. The sound cracked through the room. One of Roman's men appeared instantly at the end of the hall. Roman lifted one hand. Again, they froze, just like in the bakery. But this time, Roman was not laughing. He looked at Clara with a red mark rising on his cheek, and something almost like pain behind his eyes. Clara's voice shook. I am not one of your properties. No, he said quietly. I am not a street to buy or a threat to manage. I know. Do you? He did not answer. Tears burned in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. You made me feel safer and took my privacy in the same breath. That is not protection. That is control. Roman absorbed the words without defense. For a terrifying man, he could be devastatingly still. You rear right, he said. Clara hated how badly she wanted him to argue. She wanted anger, arrogance, something easier to reject. Instead, he reached into his pocket, pulled out a black phone, and placed it on the table. Everything connected to your phone is on there. Password is Lily's birthday. Take it. Destroy it. Keep it. Give it to police. Your choice. She stared at the phone. What game is this? No game. Why would you give me evidence against you? Roman's eyes held hers. Because you looked at me like I became exactly what you feared. Her throat tightened. And didn't you? Yes. The answer was brutal. He stepped back. I won't ask forgiveness I haven't earned. Then he left. Clara did not sleep that night. She sat beside Lily's bed with the black phone in her lap, staring at the sleeping child who depended on her to make impossible decisions correctly. Adam. She unlocked the phone. There were call logs, surveillance notes, photos of vehicles near the bakery, men's names, city permit records, shell companies connected to Elias Voss, and one folder labeled Evans. Clara almost stopped. Then she opened it. Inside were old scanned documents, her father's building permits, repair records, handwritten notes about a sealed basement wall, and a photo from 20 years ago. Her father stood outside the bakery, younger and broader, beside another man Clara recognized immediately from old newspaper clippings. Antonio Valenti, Roman's father. Clara's hands went numb. There was another file, an audio recording. She pressed play. Her father's voice filled the quiet room, grainy and shaken. If anything happens to me, the ledger is under the old oven stone. Not for police, Not for politicians. They already bought. Give it to someone who still cares what happens to this neighborhood. God help me. I think Antonio Valenti did. The recording ended. Clara could not breathe. Her father had known. Her father had been involved, not as a criminal, but as a witness, and Roman had hidden that from her. When she confronted him in the breakfast room, Roman looked as if he had expected it. Sophia quietly took Lily outside to see the snow. Clara placed the phone on the table. Tell me everything. Roman's gaze moved to the phone, then back to her. My father used your bakery as a meeting point once. Only once. He was trying to stop a deal with the Morettis. Your father overheard enough to understand that a ledger existed: names, payments, murders disguised as city projects. My father hid it? I believe so. You believe? I don't know for certain. And you came to my bakery for that? Yes. The word cut. All those mornings, she said. The bread, the coffee, Lily's crayon. You were looking for evidence. At first. Roman's voice lowered. Then I was looking for reasons to come back. Clara laughed once, but it broke in the middle. Do not turn this into romance. It already became something worse. What? His face was stripped of charm, power, performance. Need. The word frightened them both. Clara took a step back. Roman did not follow. You should have told me, she whispered. Yes. You should have given me a choice. Yes. My father trusted yours. Roman's eyes hardened with old grief. My father was killed for trying to become better than the men who raised him. The room went quiet. The night he died, Roman continued, Elias Voss was his attorney. He delivered documents to our house. He smiled at my mother. He stood beside me at the funeral. Years later, I learned he had sold my father's route maps to the Morettis. Clara's anger faltered. Roman looked toward the windows, where Lily's laughter faintly carried from the snowy lawn. I have spent 13 years hunting a betrayal I could not prove. Then Voss moved on your street. Your bakery appeared in the shell records. I came for evidence. And found me. His gaze returned to hers. And found you. The air changed again. Clara hated him. No, she wanted to hate him. But hate did not make her chest ache like this. Before either of them could speak, Roman's phone rang. He listened for 5 seconds. Then every trace of vulnerability disappeared. What happened? Clara asked. Roman looked at her. Ethan Pierce just gave an interview claiming you are emotionally unstable and under my influence. Clara went still. He what? He says he fears for Lily's safety. The room tilted. No. Roman's voice turned lethal. He is standing outside the courthouse with Elias Voss. Clara grabbed the back of a chair. Ethan knew exactly where to strike. Not the bakery. Not her reputation. Lily. Roman stepped toward her. Clara, if he makes this a custody issue, he won't get near her. You don't understand. I'm not her mother on paper yet. Marin named me guardian, but the final hearing was delayed because I couldn't pay the last filing fees. If Ethan says the bakery is connected to crime and I'm staying with you, her voice failed. Roman understood instantly. The fear of losing Lily was worse than death. He turned to his men. Bring the car. Clara caught his arm. Where are we going? To end the interview. No violence. His eyes were cold enough to freeze the room. Define violence, Roman. He looked down at her hand on his arm. Something in him shifted. For her, he pulled the monster back by its chain. Fine, he said. No violence in front of cameras. The courthouse steps were crowded when they arrived. Reporters stood in the snow with microphones and bright lights. Elias Voss looked polished and concerned. Ethan stood beside him, wearing the face Clara had once mistaken for kindness. Seeing him made old wounds reopen. Roman stepped out first. The crowd reacted instantly. Cameras swung toward him. Reporters shouted his name. His men formed a quiet wall, but he did not hide. Then Clara stepped out. Gasps moved through the crowd. She wore her own coat, not anything Roman had bought her. Her hair was pinned back. Her face was pale, but steady. Roman walked beside her, close enough to protect, not close enough to claim. Ethan saw her and frowned as if she had ruined a performance. "Clara," he called. "Thank God. I've been worried." She almost laughed. Roman's hand flexed at his side. Clara stepped forward before he could speak. "No," she said clearly. "You've been useful." The cameras caught it. Elias' smile tightened. Ethan blinked. "What? You left when my sister died. You left when Lily needed stability. You left when I sold my car to keep the bakery open. But now, suddenly, when Elias Voss wants my building, you re-worried." Reporters surged closer. Ethan's face flushed. "That's not fair. Neither was telling strangers I'm unstable." Elias stepped in smoothly. "Miss Evans, no one wants to hurt you. We only want to ensure the child is safe." Roman's voice cut through the cold. "Say her name again, and I will buy every building your company leases and turn them into soup kitchens." The reporters fell silent. Elias looked at Roman. A flash of hatred broke through his polished mask. "There he is," Elias said softly. "The real Roman Valenti." Roman smiled without warmth. "You've been waiting 13 years to meet him again." Clara looked between them. Elias's eyes flicked to her, then back to Roman. "You should have stayed away from the baker." Roman took one step forward. His men moved with him. Elias did not flinch, but Ethan did. That was when Clara understood. Ethan was not the mastermind. He was a coward. A man who had sold access to her grief because someone offered him importance. But Elias Voss was something else. He looked at Roman like he wanted to carve history out of his bones. Roman leaned slightly closer, voice too low for most microphones. "She threw flour at me and lived," he said. "Do you really think I'll let you touch her?" The line hit the cameras anyway. By nightfall, it was everywhere, the baker and the boss. Some people called it scandal. Some called it romance. Some called Clara a victim. Others called her a gold digger. A few called her brave. The internet made her into a story before she had time to understand her own life. Then Roman made it worse. He announced, through his attorney, that Clara Evans was under his personal protection. The next morning, a photograph appeared on every news site. Roman standing beside Clara on the courthouse steps, snow falling around them, his body angled between her and the crowd like a shield. Clara stormed into his office holding the printed article. Personal protection. Roman looked up from his desk. "Yes, you made me sound like your mistress." His eyes darkened. "If you were my mistress, no one would be confused." Heat climbed her face. Do not what? Say things like that when I'm furious." Noted. "You used me." His expression hardened. "I protected you. You marked me. Yes, at least admit it." Roman stood. The office seemed smaller when he was on his feet. "Yes," he said. "I marked you publicly because Elias operates through respectable channels. Judges, reporters, custody officials. He needs people to believe you alone and vulnerable. Now they know touching you means answering to me. You don't get to decide that." "I know, but you did." "Yes. Why?" His control wavered. "Because when Ethan mentioned taking Lily from you, I wanted to put his head through the courthouse steps." Clara's breath caught. Roman's voice lowered. "And because the thought of you walking back into that world without my name between you and them made me feel something I have not felt since my father died." "What?" He looked at her like the confession cost blood. "Fear." The room went still. Outside the office windows, snow drifted over the ocean. Clara's anger did not vanish, but it changed shape. It became something heavier, tangled with understanding and danger. and a pull she could no longer pretend not to feel. Roman came around the desk, slowly. She should have stepped back. She did not. He stopped in front of her, close enough that the space between them became a living thing. "I am not good," he said. "I know. I will do wrong things for reasons that feel right to me. I know that too. If you stay near me, you will see parts of my life that cannot be softened. I already have." His eyes moved over her face with unbearable restraint. "And if I touch you," he said, voice rougher now, "I will not know how to want you gently." Clara's heart pounded. "Then don't touch me." His jaw tightened. "I'm trying." The honesty nearly broke her. His hand lifted, just like before. This time, his fingers brushed a loose curl near her cheek. Barely, a touch so small it should not have mattered. But Clara felt it everywhere. Then the office door opened. One of Roman's men stepped in. "Boss." Roman pulled back instantly. Clara turned away, shaken. "What?" Roman asked, voice cold again. "We found a camera in the bakery." Clara's blood chilled. Roman's eyes went lethal. "Where?" "Inside the old oven hood." Clara gripped the edge of the desk. The old oven. Her father's oven. Roman looked at her. "The ledger," he said. They returned to Evan's bakery under cover of darkness. The street was empty except for Roman's men and snow drifting beneath street lamps. Police tape still hung crookedly across the front door. Someone had spray-painted "liar" on the brick wall beside the entrance. Clara touched the word with gloved fingers. Roman stood behind her. "I'll have it cleaned." "No," she said. "I want to remember." He said nothing. Inside, the bakery smelled wrong, cold, abandoned. The trays were stacked where she had left them. A dusting of flour still coated one corner of the kitchen floor from the night of the attack. Roman's men swept every room first. Then Clara led Roman to the old brick oven. "My father rebuilt this after the fire in '98, she said. "He told me never to let anyone replace it." Roman crouched beside the lower stone panel. For the first time, Clara saw his hands hesitate. "What?" she asked. "My father had a fireplace with the same stonework." The vulnerability lasted only a breath. Then Roman removed a small tool from his coat and loosened the panel. Behind it was a narrow, hollow space. Inside, wrapped in oilcloth, sat a black ledger and a small metal box. Clara covered her mouth. Roman did not touch it immediately. He looked at her. "Your father hid it. You open it." Her hands trembled as she pulled the ledger free. Inside were names, payments, dates, city officials, police officers, judges, business owners, Moretti family accounts, and one Valenti name Clara did not expect. Not Roman. His uncle, Salvatore Valenti. Roman's face went completely still. Clara looked up. "Your uncle betrayed your father." Roman's silence was terrifying. Before he could answer, a red dot appeared on the wall behind him. Clara saw it first. "Roman." She shoved him. The window shattered. A bullet tore through the space where his head had been. Roman caught Clara as she fell, dragging her behind the steel table while his men opened fire toward the building across the alley. Glass rained across the bakery floor. Clara heard shouting, tires screaming, Lily's name in her own mind like a prayer. Roman covered her body with his. His coat smelled like smoke and snow and him. "Are you hit?" he demanded. No. His hand moved over her arms, her shoulders, her face, checking anyway. "Roman, I'm okay." His eyes were wild for 1 second. Not cold, not controlled. Wild. Then he pressed his forehead briefly against hers. So brief she might have imagined it. "Do not do that again," he said. "Save your life. Risk yours for mine." She stared at him. "You would have died." His voice dropped. "That would have been simpler." The words hit her harder than the gunshot. Before she could answer, his men shouted that the shooter was gone. Roman rose, pulling Clara with him. But he did not release her hand, not until they were back in the SUV, not until they were halfway to the safe house, not until Clara looked down and realized his fingers were still locked around hers like letting go might kill him. The next day, Roman disappeared. Not physically. He was in the house. Clara heard his voice behind closed doors, saw men moving in and out, saw Sophia's worried glances. But Roman did not come to breakfast, did not check on Lily, did not stand by the windows where Clara had grown used to finding him. At noon, Clara found him in the underground garage, beating a punching bag with bare fists until his knuckles split. She stood several feet away. "Is this where you hide when you feel something?" The bag swung. Roman stopped. Sweat darkened his black shirt. His breathing was controlled, but the blood on his hands told the truth. "You shouldn't be down here. You say that about everywhere." He turned away, reaching for a towel. Clara stepped closer. "Your uncle tried to kill you. Likely. And you reacting like that doesn't hurt. It's not useful. Neither is bleeding on leather." He almost smiled. Almost. Then his face closed again. "My uncle helped raise me after my father died," he said. "He taught me where to stand, in a room so no one could shoot me from behind. He taught me how to recognize lies. He taught me that family was the only thing that could not be bought." His voice became colder. He was lying while teaching me how to hate liars. Clara's heart softened despite herself. "I'm sorry. Don B. Roman." He looked at her. "I know betrayal," she said. "Not like yours. But I know what it feels like when someone you trusted leaves you holding the wreckage." His eyes moved over her face. "Ethan," she nodded. "I thought loving him meant I had finally been chosen by someone who saw past my size, past my work, past the mess of my life. Then Marin died. Lily needed me. The bakery needed me. And suddenly I was too much, too tired, too sad, too responsible, too big in every way." Roman's expression darkened. "He said that? Not in those exact words. Give me the exact ones." "No. Clara, no. Because I know what you'll do with them." His silence confirmed it. She stepped closer and took the towel from his hand. He allowed it. Carefully, she wrapped the towel around his bleeding knuckles. The intimacy of it shook them both. "I don't need you to punish everyone who hurt me," she whispered. His voice was low. "I do. That's not love. No." His gaze burned into hers. "It's instinct." Clara's fingers stilled. Roman leaned closer, but did not touch her beyond where her hands held his. "If someone makes you flinch, I remember their face. If someone says your name like they own it, I want their teeth on the floor. If someone looks at Lily like she is leverage, I stop being civilized." "Roman, I warned you I wouldn't want you gently." Her breath caught. "And I warned you not to touch me. I'm not." But he was everywhere. In the heat between them, in the silence, in the way his wounded hands remained open beneath hers, as if surrender was the most violent thing he had ever done. Clara should have stepped away. Instead, she rose on trembling toes and kissed him. Roman went completely still. For one heartbeat, she thought she had made a terrible mistake. Then his restraint broke. He kissed her like a man who had denied himself water in a burning room. One hand went to her waist, the other to the back of her neck, firm but careful, holding her as if she were both dangerous and breakable. Clara felt the force of him, the hunger, the control barely surviving beneath it. Then he stopped. He pulled back with a rough breath. Clara stared at him, dazed. "Why did you stop?" His forehead rested near hers, not touching. "Because if we start now, it won't be because you're safe. It will be because you're afraid and I'm angry." Her chest tightened. "You really are inconveniently honorable sometimes." His mouth curved faintly. "With you, 2 words. A confession." Then alarms screamed upstairs. Roman changed instantly. He took Clara's hand and ran. By the time they reached the main floor, Sophia was carrying Lily from the guest room while Roman's men shouted into radios. On the security screens, Clara saw black SUVs breaking through the outer gate, not Roman's Moretti. Roman took one look and began issuing orders. "Safe room. Now." Clara grabbed Lily. The mansion shook as the first explosion hit near the driveway. Lily screamed. Roman led them through a concealed panel behind the library shelves into a reinforced room with monitors, medical supplies, and steel walls. Sophia pulled Lily inside. Clara turned back. Roman was not entering. "No," she said immediately. His eyes met hers. "I have to end this." "You mean fight?" "I mean prevent them from reaching this room." "Roman." He stepped close and gripped her face between his hands. For the first time, he touched her without hesitation. "Listen to me. If that door opens and it is not me, you take Lily through the lower tunnel. Sophia knows the way." "No." "Yes. Don't you dare make this sound like goodbye." His eyes burned. "I have survived everything because I had nothing I was afraid to lose." His voice broke slightly, almost too slight to hear. "Then you threw flour at me." Tears filled her eyes. Outside, gunfire cracked through the mansion. Roman pressed a hard kiss to her forehead. Then he turned and shut the steel door between them. Clara stood frozen, Lily crying against her side, watching the monitors as Roman Valenti walked alone into the marble foyer of his own besieged house. He moved, like darkness given shape. Men came through the shattered front entrance. Roman's guards engaged them. Smoke filled the hall. Glass glittered across the floor. Then Elias Voss appeared on one of the monitors. Not outside. Inside, in the lower corridor behind the safe room. Clara's heart stopped. He had known the house layout. Betrayal inside Roman's own walls. Sophia saw him too. Her face went pale. "There is another way in." The safe room lights flickered. A voice came through the intercom. "Elias, Miss Evans, I don't want the child. I want the ledger. Give it to me, and this ends." Clara looked at the black ledger on the table. Roman had brought it back for safekeeping. Everything, the proof, the betrayal, the key to destroying Voss, sat inches from her hand. Lily sobbed quietly. Sophia loaded a pistol with shaking but practiced hands. Clara looked at the little girl she had promised her sister she would protect. Then she picked up the ledger. "What are you doing?" Sophia whispered. "Buying time." "No, Roman will. Roman is fighting a war because everyone wants this." Clara's voice steadied. "So let them look at me." She pressed the intercom button. "I'll give it to you," she said. Elias's voice softened. "Smart woman." Clara looked at Sophia. "When the door opens, take Lily through the tunnel." Lily clutched her. "No." Clara knelt and held her face. "Baby, listen to me. You are going to go with Sophia. You are going to be brave for 10 minutes. Just 10. I will find you. You promise?" Clara's throat burned. "I promise." Sophia pulled Lily away as Clara moved toward the steel door. When it opened, Elias Voss stood in the corridor with 2 armed men. He smiled. "You really did make him stupid," he said. Clara stepped out with the ledger held to her chest. "No," she said. "I made him human." Elias' smile vanished. One of his men grabbed her. Clara did not fight. Not yet. As they dragged her through the corridor, she heard Lily crying behind the closing wall. The sound nearly destroyed her. Elias took Clara to an abandoned church near the harbor, its windows boarded, its altar covered in dust, its old stained glass cracked but still catching moonlight from the storm outside. There, Roman's uncle Salvatore waited. He was older than Roman, silver-haired, elegant, with the same Valenti eyes and none of Roman's restraint. Clara stood between them with her wrists bound. The ledger lay on the altar. Salvatore opened it, flipping through pages with a sigh. All this trouble because dead men kept notes. Elias looked irritated. Burn it. Salvatore smiled. Not yet. Clara's pulse pounded. You killed Antonio, she said. Salvatore looked at her as if noticing her fully for the first time. No, my dear. I allowed ambitious men to remove a sentimental obstacle. His son loved you. Something flickered across Salvatore's face. Then he laughed softly. Roman loved the idea of loyalty. I gave him something to believe in. Headlights flashed through the broken church windows. Elias turned. Outside, engines roared. Black SUVs surrounded the church. Clara's heart slammed against her ribs. Roman. The doors burst open. Roman Valenti walked into the church covered in rain, smoke, and fury. His black shirt was torn at the shoulder. Blood darkened one sleeve. His men followed behind him, weapons raised. But Roman only looked at Clara. Not the ledger. Not his uncle. Her. For 1 second, the entire violent world narrowed to their eye contact. His face said what his mouth could not. Are you hurt? Clara lifted her chin slightly. No. Only then did Roman look at Salvatore. Uncle. Salvatore smiled. You always were dramatic. Roman's voice was calm. You attacked my home. You let a baker become your weakness. Roman stepped forward. No, he said. I let her become my reason. The words struck Clara so deeply she almost forgot to breathe. Elias grabbed her and pressed a gun to her side. Roman stopped instantly. There it was. The shift. The whole room saw it. Roman Valenti, the man Boston feared, halted because a woman who owned a bakery might bleed. Elias smiled. Now we negotiate. Roman's eyes remained on Clara. No. Elias frowned. Roman looked at the ledger on the altar. You want proof buried? Fine. He pulled a lighter from his pocket. Salvatore's smile disappeared. Roman. Roman picked up the ledger. Clara stared at him. The evidence. His father's murder. Her father's courage. The names that could ruin all of them. Roman held the flame beneath the first page. Let her go, he said. Elias panicked. Don't be stupid. Roman's eyes were terrifyingly steady. You wanted to know what she is worth to me. The flame caught. Paper curled black. Clara's heart cracked open. Roman. No, but he did not look away from Elias. She is worth more than revenge. The ledger burned in his hand. Salvatore lunged. Gunfire exploded through the church. Clara dropped as Elias shoved her aside. Roman moved at the same time, crossing the distance with impossible speed. He struck Elias hard enough to send the gun skidding across the stone floor. Clara crawled toward the altar as chaos erupted around her. Salvatore grabbed a fallen weapon. He aimed at Roman's back. Clara screamed. Roman turned. The shot rang out. He staggered. For a second, the world stopped. Then Roman's men took Salvatore down. Elias was dragged to his knees. Rain blew through the broken doors. Smoke from the burning ledger twisted into the church rafters like a ghost. Clara ran to Roman. He was on one knee, one hand pressed to his side. Roman. His face was pale, but his eyes found hers. You promised Lily you'd come back, he said. A sob broke from her chest. You heard? I hear everything when it comes to you. She pressed her hands over his wound. You burned it. Not all of it. She froze. His mouth curved faintly. I made copies. Clara laughed through tears. You manipulative? I'm possible, man. Yes. Then his eyes softened. But I meant it. What? His blood-slick hand covered hers. You are worth more than revenge. The sirens came at dawn. Not Voss's false police this time. Real federal agents. Roman's copies went to a prosecutor outside Boston, a woman with no ties to Voss, no debts to the Morettis, no loyalty to the Valentis. Elias Voss was arrested before sunrise. Salvatore Valenti disappeared into federal custody under heavy guard. City officials resigned. Judges were investigated. The Moretti family lost half its protected routes in one morning. Boston called it the Harbor Corruption Scandal. The news called Clara Evans the baker who helped bring down a criminal empire. They were wrong. Clara had not wanted an empire. She had wanted her bakery. Roman spent 9 days in a private hospital under heavy security. Clara visited every day. At first, she told herself it was because he had been shot, saving her, then because Lily wanted to draw him pictures, then because Sophia needed help convincing him to follow medical instructions. By the 5th day, she stopped lying. She found him sitting by the window in a black robe, looking furious at his own recovery. "You're supposed to be in bed," she said. "I dislike being horizontal." Tragic. He looked at the paper bag in her hand. "What is that?" "Sourdough." His eyes lifted to hers. "The bakery is still closed. I used Sophia's kitchen. That woman lets you do anything. She has taste." Clara set the bread on the table. Roman watched her as if the sight of her moving around his hospital room unsettled him more than the bullet had. Lily's drawings covered the wall beside his bed. One showed Roman as a tall black triangle holding a loaf of bread. Another showed Clara throwing flour with dramatic white clouds everywhere. In the corner, Lily had written, "Mr. Roman is scary but nice." Clara looked at it and smiled. She has a gift for nuance. Roman's mouth softened. "How is she?" "Better." She asked if Mafia Bosses get snow days. "What did you say?" "I said only if their doctors make them." His eyes held hers. "And you? What about me? Are you better?" The question was too gentle. Clara sat beside his bed. "I don't know." Roman nodded, as if he respected the truth more than reassurance. "I signed the papers," he said. Clara frowned. "What papers?" "The property acquisitions on Hanover Street have been transferred into a neighborhood trust. You and the other business owners will own shares. No developer can force a sale without unanimous consent." Clara stared at him. "You gave it back? I never wanted your bakery destroyed, but you wanted the street." "Yes. And now?" His gaze lowered briefly. "Now I want you to have a choice when you tell me no." Her chest tightened. "Roman, I also paid your guardianship filing fees." Her eyes flashed. "You... what?" "Before you yell, it was done anonymously through a legal aid fund. The attorney is independent, competent, annoyingly moral." Clara tried to be angry. She really did. But the fear that had been lodged beneath her ribs for months, the fear of losing Lily because poverty made love look unstable on paper, loosened so suddenly she almost cried. Roman saw it. Of course he saw it. "I did not buy your gratitude," he said. "No," she whispered. "You bought me time. I bought Lily protection from men like Ethan." "Ethan? He is under investigation for fraud." "Roman, I did not touch him." She narrowed her eyes. "Define touch." His expression remained innocent in a way that did not suit him at all. Clara laughed, softly at first, then helplessly. Roman watched her with something like wonder. "What?" she asked. His voice was quiet. "The first time I laughed in years, I was covered in your flour." She smiled through the ache in her throat. "And? Now?" His eyes did not leave hers. "Now I remember why men survive wars." Clara reached for his hand. This time, neither of them stopped. 3 months later, Evans' bakery reopened on a bright spring morning. The brick wall had been cleaned, but Clara had left one small mark near the side entrance where the spray paint had been. Not enough for customers to notice. Enough for her to remember she had survived being turned into someone else's story. The old oven had been repaired, the front windows replaced. The sign repainted in deep blue with gold letters, just as her mother had once wanted. By 6 a.m., a line had formed down the sidewalk. Old customers, new customers. Reporters kept behind a polite barrier. Neighborhood shop owners holding flowers. Mrs. O'Leary crying into a napkin before she even reached the door. Lily stood on a chair behind the counter, wearing a tiny apron that said Assistant Manager. Clara tied the ribbon at the back and kissed her head. You ready? Lily nodded seriously. Do we throw flour today? Only at special guests. The bell above the door chimed. The bakery went quiet. Roman Valenti stepped inside. No entourage, no black parade, just Roman, in a dark suit, one hand tucked into his coat pocket, his scar catching the morning light. He looked healthier, though still dangerous enough to make half the room forget their orders. Clara stood behind the counter, dusted with flour, heart full and terrified. Roman approached. The same counter between them, the same warm light, a different life. I heard the sourdough is good here, he said. Clara tried not to smile. It's overrated. Impossible. You haven't tasted it. I trust the baker. That simple sentence almost undid her. From his coat pocket, Roman removed a folded white handkerchief. The same one, RV stitched in black thread. Clean now, except for a faint flour stain that had never fully come out. He placed it on the counter. I believe you kept this once, he said. Clara touched the edge of it. You came back for your handkerchief? No. His eyes held hers. I came back because this is where my life changed. The bakery faded around them. Clara saw the man everyone feared. The man who had lied, protected, controlled, sacrificed, bled. Changed slowly, painfully, incompletely but truly. He was not safe. He would never be simple. But neither was she the woman she had been before he walked through her door. She had faced guns, betrayal, headlines, tunnels, beneath her childhood home, and a love so dangerous it had forced both of them to become honest. Roman leaned slightly closer, not crossing the counter. Never again without permission. Clara Evans, he said softly, may I ask you something? Her pulse warmed. You may ask. Will you have dinner with me tonight? Around them, customers pretended not to listen and failed. Lily grinned with both hands over her mouth. Clara looked down at the handkerchief, then back at Roman. No. The bakery collectively stopped breathing. Roman's expression did not change, but something in his eyes flickered. Clara picked up a paper bag, slid a warm sourdough loaf inside, and handed it to him. I close at 7, she said. You can help me clean up. Then I'll decide. For one beautiful second, Roman Valenti looked completely, genuinely caught off guard. Then he laughed. Low, real, human. The sound filled the bakery warmer than sunlight. Outside, Boston moved on around them, cars passing, church bells ringing, spring wind moving through the narrow street once marked for destruction. Inside, Clara Evans stood in her bakery with flour on her apron, her niece laughing beside her, and the most feared mafia boss in Boston looking at her like she was the only thing in the world he had never wanted to conquer. Only protect, only choose, only come home to. Roman accepted the bread. Their fingers touched. This time neither pulled away. And when the bell above the bakery door chimed again, letting in the bright morning air, Clara realized the life she had fought so hard to keep had not been stolen by danger after all. It had been expanded by it, not into a fairy tale, not into safety, but into something fierce, something earned, something that smelled like fresh bread, spring rain, and a man in black who had once arrived to buy her street and stayed because she threw flour at his heart.